What's going on, champions? Welcome to another episode of the Perspektiv podcast. I am Kwame Osei.
My name is Dylan Elias.
And I'm Izzy Castillo.
And this is season 2, episode 4, of where we tune the heart of mentorship. Let's go. Hey, before we get started, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this amazing content that we've been producing. And let's get it out to the world. So today is a special episode, as all episodes actually. But today
Because it's episode 4, right?
Oh yeah, you already know. You already know. It's all about the 4th. Let's go. But today we got my brother on deck. Mr. Antwi Atuahene. Antwi is a special guy to me. You know, he's from where I'm from. He's a guy who, man, if you looked at his resume, I'm not even gonna go too deep on his resume. I'm gonna get him to tell us a little bit more, but his resume is impressive. He's a guy that inspires me to just to do more by what he's doing. You know what I mean? And that's what we need. We need people that can help us elevate and contribute to the world. And Antwi, he's from Rexdale. Antwi is a guy that's overcome so many things that we're going to get into in depth. And Antwi is the man of the people. So let's give a warm hand to my brother Antwi. Welcome to the Perspektiv podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm thankful to be here and to share some perspective with you guys and the viewers.
Yes, sir. So before we get into it, Antwi, I just want you to tell us a bit about yourself. You know, for everybody out there, you know, when you think of Toronto basketball, you can't talk about Toronto basketball without mentioning this guy's name. He's one of the founding fathers, one of the most influential people in Rexdale, in Toronto, in the basketball scene. And now he's venturing out to so many different avenues. So Antwi, can you just give us a little brief bio about yourself before we get into the questions?
Yeah, I appreciate the great intro. It was phenomenal. Well, I'm Antwi Atuahene, parents in African Ghanaian descent. I was born and raised in the Toronto Rexdale area, where I attended Marion Academy, which later merged into Father Henry Carr. We created a powerhouse there. We won a lot of Catholic championships, and we went to AVSA, and I think we came in second place one time, and we almost won the other time. But from there, I kind of graduated and got a scholarship to Rutgers University. The clearinghouse had an issue with my transcript, so I had to go to JUCO for a year, which where a lot of adversity happened, and I graduated junior college in 1 year and became the junior college player of the year, broke the record for triple doubles in junior college. Then from there, I went to Arizona State. I had Kansas State, Texas A&M, a bunch of different schools recruited me out of junior college, and I chose Arizona State because of the palm trees and the beautiful weather and the great opportunity that was ahead of me playing in the Pac-10 against the best schools, best players, and best schools in the world, I felt at the time. From there, I had a pretty solid career at Arizona State. I played 3 years there, started my first 2 years. My last year was a little bit different, where adversity set. And after that, I played about 8 years pro in places like China, Colombia, Mexico, Poland, Italy, and Canada. And after my pro career, or during my pro career, I started branching off into the community, and I created something called Youth R Us, which was a community-based initiative for younger kids in at-risk demographics to kind of help them become leaders or become like a big brother or mentor to them, and give them more opportunities and kind of show them what I've learned the hard way through my process. And after that, I got into the managerial space and an event space, then also like the entrepreneurial space after my pro career, and which has led me to a bunch of different endeavors that we'll probably tap into now. So I don't want to talk too much about it.
Like what I said, impressive resume.
Yeah,
who's
taking notes?
Right? But Antwi, as you're talking, I noticed there's so many different dynamics and so many different barriers you had to kind of go through. And when I think of people like yourself and a few other people, this Drake song comes to mind, where the song Fireworks, where he says, "From the concrete, who knew a flower would grow?" Right. And you're a flower that grew from concrete. You're a flower that grew from essentially nothing. You're a flower that grew from an environment that wasn't expected for it to grow in. So with that being said, I kind of want to know, like, what was the biggest barrier that you had to go through in your life? You know, I know you went through a bunch of barriers, but what's one barrier that, man, you're just like, man, that was it. That was the one that got me to the next level.
I would have to say my last year in college, at my senior year at Arizona State. I've worked extremely hard to get where I had to go. And I had a coaching change going into my junior year. So going into my senior year, I had an opportunity where I would stay at my school or I transferred to UNLV with Lon Kruger, and he wanted me to come over as a grad senior. And I went to discuss it with my coach, like, you know what, if I'm not going to be used the right way, or in my last year, I'd rather transfer and play my last year at UNLV. And he literally said, no, we're not going to let you transfer because you have to sign off on it. So you're going to stay here, and whatever position we put you at, you got to play. So I went from being a point guard leading the Pac-10 in assists to playing the 5, meaning the center. So I'm covering Kevin Love, Taj Gibson, all those guys. So, but he did it to not discourage me, but to let him know like he's in charge. It's Division I basketball, and went from from playing the 5, 4, 3 to not even playing at all at times, where I had to kind of figure out a way to kind of look myself in the mirror, like, what am I doing this for? Should I transfer and leave and try to do something different, like at a smaller school, or should I stay here and complete my degree that I told my parents I was going to complete? And so that was a really, really difficult period. And I realized through that journey, even during that time when it was difficult, I knew there was something bigger afterwards. So I stuck it out, and I became a mentor to the players on my team, the younger guys, to the Jaren Ships, to the James Hardens, to the Ty Abbotts. I became the mentor to these guys with like their big brother. So everything they're going through, to come to me first. I was a senior in the team. They were freshmen and sophomores. Then I realized, I'm like, it's a reason I'm here for these guys. Like, if I leave, they're not going anywhere, because they literally look to me for all advice and all information, and even on the court, work ethic. So I knew it was nothing to do with my actual game, but just where God has put me at this time. And that was a difficult time to actually take a step back and embrace that. And when I fully embraced it, like the last month of my senior season, everything is opened up afterwards.
Wow. Yo, for those of you who don't understand what position he was playing center. Antwi, how tall are you? Like what, 6'3"?
6'4".
6'4"?
Yeah.
He's 6'4", so he's pretty much guarding guys that are like 6'11", 7 feet, like that much of a height difference. So
yeah, and the guys that we're talking about, I'm talking about the Lopez twins. So Brooke and Robin Lopez, they're on Stanford at the time. Talk about Kevin Love and Luke Baamute and those guys, they're at UCLA. I'm talking about Taj Gibson at USC. I'm talking about, like, these are the best players in the world. All of guys got drafted like top 20 in the NBA the next year or the next 2 years. And I went from guarding Jordan Farmer and Russell Westbrook to covering Kevin Love, like in the same season and in the season after. So it was a difficult transition.
Wow. And I don't even know what to say about that. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. But everything happens for a reason. And as you're talking, you know, I never knew that you were senior to James Harden. I thought you guys were like same year. But you know, it's kind of, as you're talking, I'm just like, everything happens for a reason. You know, if you didn't embrace that role as being like a leader in that group, as being the senior for these juniors and embracing them and giving them advice, who knows where their careers would have led to, you know what I mean? Like, you played a role in their development. So that was huge. And you had to accept that role. You know, sometimes our ego will tell us, nah, I'm not about this. I'm not playing center. I'm the Pac-10 leader in assists. Why am I playing center? But that tells me a lot about you and your humility.
I appreciate it. And at the time, it was difficult, man. You know how it is. You're on TV in LA, in the West Coast, but everyone in Toronto or in the East Coast is watching your games at night, and they're not understanding why you're not playing or why you're playing out of position. And as you can see, there's a lot of pressure coming from the city of, like, it was me, Denham, Jermaine Anderson, Javon, like a bunch of guys that they expected to make it. And obviously I wasn't tailor-made. I wasn't pushing in the direction they were. I feel like I was the Allen Iverson of our community. I feel like I was the person to take, like, not the hits, but the person that went with my own personality. I didn't leave Toronto and become a new person. I left Toronto and kept that Toronto in me. Like, I played at Arizona State like I was from Rexdale. Like, I was doing no-look passes, doing all that stuff. I didn't make a coach change my game, like, when I went there. Like, so I felt like I took the hitch for that. Because before, the narrative was players from Toronto are soft, or players from Toronto don't have that city-type style in their game. It's like they're this real clean cut. And I feel like I was the first guard coming out of the city that actually showed them, like, no, we have everything you guys have out here and more. And we have that kill or be killed attitude on the court as well.
Let's go.
This brings me to, I was creeping your Instagram because this is my first time meeting you. So
Hey, that's what's up.
yeah. And one of the biggest things that stood out to me was The phrase that we usually go with is just, be the change you want to see in the world. And words that were coming up that I kept passing through was like generation wealth, ownership, good health, uplifting kings and queens, and promoting knowledge of self. And when I was looking at that, and I was thinking of my own journey with those words and how much in my family that was like not something that was passed on, and something that I had to go in my own journey of finding that. So can you tell me why this is important to foster these foundations in communities, and just from your experience, like how has that been of importance?
That's a great question. I feel growing up, obviously in a Ghanaian household, but my parents were very, I don't want to say westernized, but my father was a Black Panther. My mother, she worked for 30 years, like at a drug plant, a pharmaceutical plant. So they kind of understood a little bit more than other parents, but they still had that mentality where everything was about scholastics. Like, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be this, you got to be that. And becoming a trailblazer and letting them know, like, athletics can lead you to different avenues in life that actually can obtain generational wealth was kind of like my goal starting out. Like, I wanted to be like the person to kind of lead the way and let other younger Ghanaian guys or girls, whoever it was, kind of see that you can be an athlete and you can help change your family's dynamic by doing something great and still get your education paid for. And it was a difficult time at the time. And Kwame knows this, like, growing up, it's put the basketball down if you don't got 95% in class, or if you don't got great marks in math. And at the end of the day, when you get older, you don't really know anything about calculus. They don't teach you about financial aid and all that stuff in school, in university. And I went to a Pac-10 school, which was in the same conference as Stanford and UCLA. They didn't teach anything about financial literacy. Mm-hmm. So I felt that it was extremely important for me leaving Toronto, or getting a Division I scholarship and graduating, to at least when I'm leaving it, I want to leave the medicine and the dessert. I want to let people know, like, yeah, it looks cool, but start focusing on generational wealth. Start focusing on assets versus things that depreciate in value. Don't worry about buying all these chains and jewelry and cars. Yeah, it's cool, but you got to make sure you take care of your home, get some property, take care of some stuff that you invest in yourself. Like, don't just be taking care of different things that's not going to reciprocate in value. So I feel like it's very important that I try to leave some gems back for people so they can understand it without like force feeding it to them. So along my journey, I feel like I helped it.
Yeah. And like the whole financial literacy, because I know like in a lot of different families and people who grew up, like that's never taught in the schools. Like that's something I'm teaching right now in my job. And I'm noticing that through teaching, I'm also learning myself and how much power that is that I can give to my family. I know going to school was already like a first step, and then what I did with school and from there. So I really value that. And I really got that from your page. And I'm really liking that language that's being used and actual actions for people to spread that knowledge. And because that's such a barrier for so many people that, you might get even the access to like having the sports and getting far with that, but then like leaving that and not having anything. So how do you teach and invest people to be able to make that wealth? So yeah, like that was a big one I really was seeing on your page, and your branding of your company. And I was really interested to see how that even started. So I'm sure we'll get into that, but
I like that. I think growing up, and here's what needs to change. And I want people to understand, especially parents, even if you have to talk to your parents about it. Mm-hmm. I think growing up, we operate from a place of scarcity. It's always not enough. It's always, don't buy this because of this. We're not going to have this for that. We don't operate from a place of abundance. Like our minds don't go like we're going to have more coming in. So people become hoarders of things they don't need. It's like with clothes. Like I know family members that's maybe not even in my direct family, but they have clothes from like 2001 still packed up in bags and shoes they don't even wear no more. And they're afraid to let it go. Like
with the tag.
It's with the tag, and they're afraid to let it go because they don't understand they're operating from a place of scarcity. They felt they purchased it with money. It has value to them. I'm not saying things that don't have sentimental value, but they think it has value to them. They want to keep it because they're afraid in their mind nothing else is coming in. Versus being like, you know what? I've worn this clothes for a couple of seasons. Give it to my younger cousin, or give it to Goodwill, or someone else can use it because I have more coming in. So operating from a place of abundance, like my mentality is always, I have too much coming in. Like I got to spread it out because I have so much coming in. I don't know what to do with it. And, so said, so done.
That makes a lot of sense. I wanted to ask you about, because you talk a lot about, getting out and then coming back and giving back to your community. One of the things with the kids that I deal with is a lot of people want to get out, but they don't necessarily know what that looks like, because whatever they see on TV, whatever they see on social media, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a pretty picture out there, but when you're actually doing it, it's different. Like, Toronto's a great place to visit for someone, but it's different when you live there. Right. So when you're dealing with certain kids or young adults, like, do you have any techniques, I guess, for, I'll give you a quick example. I had this youth council a couple of years ago, and a lot of them had never really left the reserve. And we had a chance to go to an award ceremony. It was in Winnipeg, so we had to take a flight there, and I got funding for the whole event. So I sat down, I told them, I was excited. I was like, yeah, we're gonna go on this trip, and it was just like blank faces. And I was confused. I'm like, why is no one excited about this? Like, we get to go on this trip. Like half of them had never been on a plane before. None of them have ever left Alberta before. So to me, what I was thinking was this great opportunity for them to see something. There was a lot of fear that came from their side of it. So I had to kind of like reevaluate everything that we were doing and seeing where they were come from. Do you deal with that kind of thing where like people want to get out, but when they do, they either self-sabotage, so they end up going back, or they're just scared to leave in the first place? And how do you like navigate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I deal with that a lot. Even sometimes when I first, you want to quote unquote, got out, there was some survivor's remorse when you would come back and you see, some of your friends still in the same positions that they are. And you have to realize, in order to help others, you have to help yourself. And I feel like the best way to tap into, I don't even want to call it the next generation, because it could be people older than you in age, but younger in the mind, is tapping into their mind. Before you tell them, let's leave this place, you have to kind of tap into what they think, what it looks like, because you have to see it, then you can be it. So the biggest thing they have to realize, your inner world is a reflection of your outer world. So let's tap into visualization, meditation, see yourself out there doing great things. There's gonna be less fear, because when they're afraid of the unknown, they're afraid of what happens if I go out there and I don't make it. But if you visualize yourself going out there and making it and doing big things or doing great things, it's gonna be easier for you to walk in that path. So I think the mental part of it is the visualization and understanding like it's gonna be okay. Like tap into your mentality, understanding like, you know what, whatever it is I want that reads on the screen of my mind, I can make come to light. So don't put negative thoughts on the screen of your mind, because once you do that, you've lost already. Put only positive thoughts on the screen of your mind, and that'll come to light.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off that a bit. When I think of like some of the best athletes that I've ever seen, especially in the football realm, like the best football players I've ever seen never ever made it to the pros. Like the best foot receiver I've known all my life has never made it to the pros. Like a guy who I think is better than all receivers I've seen in the CFL never made it to the pros. A bunch of linebackers I've known that are just crazy talented, very, very smart on the field, great football IQs, never made it to the pros. And kind of like what Dylan just asked, like so many talented people never end up getting to leave. And you were one of the most talented guys in our era, and I know a bunch of other basketball players in our era, and you know the people I'm probably thinking about too that never ended up making it to where you made it. So you kind of said, visualization, a tongue twister. Visualization was
me too. I gotta slow down when I say that.
Was a big part of your transformation. But go a little bit deeper. Like, what made you different from the people around you? What made you different?
Listen, you couldn't tell me no. There's too many people that hear no and they're like, oh man. Or my mentality was so like, if I miss a shot, something's wrong with the ball or the rim. It's not me. Like, I'm gonna repeat that. If I miss a jump shot, it's gotta be the rim or the ball. It can't be me. Because I know it's supposed to go in. Like, that was my mentality. Like, the same phrase of having pressure is a privilege. Why did these guys fold when the pressure came? Like, I made love to pressure. Every time
say that again, big dog. Say that again.
Like I said, like when you say having pressure is a privilege, like a lot of these people, I'm not, and there's nothing against them. It may be tough for them. Maybe anxiety, it may be a fear of failure. I don't even know what failure is. I was attacking that full speed. Like there was games where I'll take the game-winning shot and we missed the shot. I was cool with that. While people would be scared of that, I wanted that because I know next time I get it, I'm gonna make it. Something was wrong with the ball, or the rim was off, or something happened over there, but it wasn't me. And I used to run towards pressured situations because I made love to pressure. I was really wanted that opportunity to like just win the game for my team. And I never ever veered away from that. So even when I was working out by myself, I was visualizing these moments of like packed gym, packed crowd, 5 seconds to go, and I'm making a shot. So when I'm in the actual game, it was the same thing for me. But guys get nervous when people get in the crowd, but the crowd's just decoration to me. Like even the defenders are pylons to me. Like there's nothing they can do to stop me. It don't matter if it's Braun, it don't matter if it's Jordan or Kobe, there's nothing they can do to stop me per se. They're pylons to me. The crowd's decoration. I can only stop myself. I always thought like that. Always, even when I was a young boy, when I was like grade 6, 7, playing against my older brother and guys that were older than me, I was the same way. I was the same exact way. And I always wanted that opportunity to like reign supreme. Like, you know, they say cream rises. Like I always felt like I was cream every single time. So that's my mentality. And you have to believe it though. There's one thing to say these words.
To say it.
Like it's cool, it's cute. You know, it's to put it on a caption, but they don't really believe it. Like they may be convinced, you know, it's a conviction you have to have. I'm not confident, it's a conviction. Like this is what, and you know, I have to wake up. You wake up and you need shelter, you need water, you need food. Like the necessities, that was a necessity to me. It wasn't a desire. It wasn't a want. Like I want to win, I need to win. Like there's no other ways around it. And that's how I approach everything to this day.
That's so true. Like everything we want, everything we're aspiring to is on the other side of fear. And most people don't realize that, you know, they see fear as the end result. And I'm just gonna put this out to anybody out there that's struggling with anxiety, struggling to get to the next level, struggling with pressure situations. Like what Antwi just said, it's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing. You have to repeatedly tell yourself over and over and over. And saying it to yourself isn't enough. You got to say it to the point where you believe it. Meditate on it. Visualize yourself doing these things, you know. So you could definitely reprogram your mind, but at the end of the day, it's on you whether or not that's gonna happen, you know.
Yo, the man said, I made love to pressure.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I really lived that lifestyle where it's, oh, you got someone over who thinks they're better than me? Oh, okay, perfect. Well, don't just bring him and another guy that thinks they're better and put both of them against me. Like that's how I was going into situations with everything. Like I wanted the odds stacked against me. It wasn't even an underdog mentality, as I wanted the odds stacked against me so I can reign and I can push myself to another level, challenging wise. Like even in video games, I'll play my brother in video games. I would wait till I'm down 18 on purpose and then be like, oh yeah, it's 20 and you lose, right? Then I turn up. That's how I was. I'm good like that. You can ask him to this day.
Shout out to Magic.
Shout out to Magic, man. He just beat me in FIFA a couple of days ago for the first time in a while, so he's kind of happy about that. But yeah, same time. Same thing.
One thing too is like exposure. I think, you know, sometimes people don't get exposure to experience certain things, or they may be in a situation they're like, oh, I'm actually an advantage here that I get to see another world and be able to like be my best self or actually bring something back home. Because I was hearing you talk about like, you know, the mentality too, but also just like how much exposure brings a new lens to people. I think of my brother who never traveled the world and thought that the world he lived in Toronto was like, that's it. That's all my life has. There's mindset, but there's also a part of that is, you know, getting exposure and just seeing it and being like, but also knowing like that uncomfortableness is actually a really good thing.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I went through a phase in my life where it's like, we call it taking over a city. So I went through a phase in my life where I wanted to go to like a new place every single time I travel. Like I'd want to go to like, not just LA, but like when I leave Arizona, I want to go to Vegas for a while. I want to go to Chicago. I want to go to these different cities and like be like so immersed in the cities. I meet new people and new energy comes to me. I was okay with like not knowing anybody once I landed. And that was like, as you said, like exposure and experiencing things, and it opens up your lens and you kind of like have different perspective afterwards.
Mm-hmm. With your entrepreneur, which I see is huge that you're doing. I know I'm someone who's like new to this world and I didn't see myself in it. And the more that I started stepping into it, I felt, and being surrounded by people who've been in it, that's inspired me to continue on. And it's really changed a lot for me in my own self of like what I think about myself and my abilities and possibilities and opportunities. So I wanted to ask you, what piece of advice, because I know we have youth, parents, people who may be wanting to start something up new, what piece of advice would you pass to those who are listening, who are considering stepping into their power and self to building a legacy for future generations?
The first thing I would say is there will be a little bit of fear or anxiety starting it, but the first thing you gotta do is get started. Then also when you're getting started, you want to give yourself a playbook or a scouting report. So in any sport, you have to have a scouting report of, a team if you want to beat them per se. So in entrepreneurship, same thing. If you want to be the best in any different field, research people that has done it. Like YouTube is your best friend. Books are your best friend. Research, watch YouTube. You can see interviews like this. You can see the mistakes people have made ahead of you so you don't make the same mistakes. And that's kind of like the guideline. That's your GPS of how you got to get to where you got to go. Then along the way, you still make your own path. You're still in your own journey. And don't be afraid of those failures. You learn more from the failures than you do from your successes.
Well, we don't get a chance to talk to people who knew Kwame Osei before he was the man standing before you today. So I was wondering, we had one of my childhood friends on last time, and I was kind of talking about how he's like front of the newspaper and he's doing all these amazing things. I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? I knew him when he was a kid, and not saying I knew that he was going to get to where he's at now, but it doesn't surprise me that he's at the level. Seeing Kwame like grow up, and like, are you surprised that he is who he is today? Or were you like, wow, this kid actually turned out to be something? I didn't think he was going to.
No, here's the thing. And I'm going to say this. Like, the truth is, when I heard about him before I met him, when I heard about, he was a quarterback, and I heard about people talking about, Kwame and whatever, it's from Car, he's a big time quarterback and whatever case. I'm like, who's he? He's from Ghana. I'm like, what? So the first time I ever met him, I think it was like grade 10 or 11, and he had this charisma about him and his confidence. I'm like, you know what? We literally bonded immediately. Like, it's like we didn't know each other. We said what up to each other, like we knew each other already. And from that day forward, we've been cool ever since. And he always had this infectious energy about him that he always wanted everyone around him to be good. Always, as a quarterback, as a point guard, as a leader, he always had that, like, make sure everyone around me is good. Always, from day one, from the beginning. Always well-spoken, always showed love. I've never even seen this guy get mad before in my life. Like, always been this type of guy from the beginning, and it's carried on. Like, everything he's doing now, I feel like he's walking into his path. He's been doing this. Like, now he's just putting like labels behind it. Like, I don't even think I've seen you mad in my life, honestly. Like, even in sport.
There's been a couple of times. What's on the low.
Even when you're playing, I wouldn't see you mad. But I'm saying, like, you always had that smile from day one. Like, you always been this way, and you always showed so much genuine love. It's only right that you're doing what you're doing for the next generation, and I see what you're doing now. So definitely, it's been the same thing.
Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just the truth.
So since we're talking about back in the days, I remember when I was in grade 12, I got to advanced level, so the highest level of courses, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a struggle for me to get there because I started off in the lowest level of all the courses. And I found a way to get to the highest level. And I remember in grade 12, my religion teacher pulls me aside and says, Kwame, I know you got friends in this class and everything. I know you're trying your best, but I don't think this level is for you. I don't think you're going to be able to graduate taking advanced religion. I think it's better for you to go down to general, I'm just saying this because I think this would be best for you, and like, this is not for you. And I remember when he said that, I was so discouraged. I felt like, am I dumb? Like, what's going on? Right. But then right away after that, it kind of pissed me off. I got pissed off. I'm like, who's this guy to tell me what I'm capable of doing? And long story short, I ended up passing the class, and I felt good about it. I just stepped up my work ethic and stepped up everything to another level. And I was watching your Sportsnet feature. For those of you who haven't watched it, go check it out. Antwi, you got a great feature on Sportsnet, like a little documentary about his life. And in that, and I never knew this until I watched it. You said that a principal once told your mom that he thinks that it's better for you to go get a job at McDonald's than chase this basketball thing. And I have to think, like, what makes, especially knowing how great of a basketball player you were back then. Like everybody knew you could play at the next level. Knowing all that and a school that you were putting on the map, for that principal to have said that, I just don't understand. But I have to go back now. And I have to ask you this question. One, how did that make you feel? I think I already know how it made you feel, but looking back on that, because I know there's a bunch of kids that probably are going through the same thing. And there's a bunch of teachers or people of influence or leaders who have the power to help elevate a child's life, to help inspire a child. You know, they say that the tongue has the power of life or death.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a choice. So looking back on that, one, how did that make you feel? And two, what words could you say to, one, speak to the kid who has been told these negative things by a person of influence? And two, what words, three, sorry. So 3-part question.
Okay.
Three, what can you say to a teacher or a principal, somebody in the leadership position that has the power to influence kids? What advice can you give them?
Yeah, well, first, I wasn't really as hurt. I was hurt for my mother at the time because literally Tom Izzo was in the hall coming to recruit me. It was right before practice. And my mom came
Michigan
down. State, Tom Izzo was there to recruit me. Him, Jim Bam, and another coach were there. And so we went to go visit the principal. And I thought it was going to be like, quick visit. And we went in there and literally, I'm not going to say his name, like 5 minutes into like the visit, he said he brought up like my attendance. He's like, oh, he's been late to a couple of classes and missing school here and there. And my mom was like, yeah, I thought it was for basketball tournaments. Like, went to like All-American camp, so he missed school. That's when he broke out, like, you know what? Like, your son probably should get better off getting a job at McDonald's. The basketball thing's not going to work for him. And my mom was really hurt about that. And I think I was more hurt for her because I knew it wasn't the truth. Like, I knew he had it out for me since the beginning, regardless of like, I became bigger than the school at this point. So at first I was hurt for my
jealousy.
brother.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Right. So, and because he knew me since I was in grade 9 and 10, and I was working hard, and he's like, what are you working on doing all these things for? Until the news started coming to our school and interviewing me, newspaper articles, etc. So I got bigger than the school at the time. And I think he was jealous at that, and he told my mom that. She was hurt, so I was hurt for her. The second part of the question was what I would tell a kid. What I would tell a kid is make sure your dreams are aligned, make sure your actions are aligned with what you're dreaming for. So at that time, I was a great basketball player, right? My average in school is about 71, 72. My attendance wasn't all the best. I thought I was the big man on campus. I thought I can come into class when I want. No one can tell me anything. My ego was big. I could do whatever I want. No one's going to say anything. So what I did after that day was I turned up my scholastics and I turned up my attendance. I was in every class first. I went from being a 70% average student to getting 95, being on the honor roll my last year, just to show that I'm capable of. So what I did, instead of taking that energy and harnessing it in a negative way, I just used it in a positive way. And I turned my schoolwork up to another level, which helped me get a scholarship to Rutgers, which is the Ivy League school. And then my game to another level was because I knew like, what can I do to show him that there's nothing you do to stop me? And my coach, Sean Travers in the Sanctus, said, you know what you got to do this year? You got to average a triple-double. It's never been done. So I averaged a triple-double my last year of high school. That was the reason it happened. So we used that fuel to fire me. And that was the best year of my life, basketball-wise. Like I had that motivation every single day. And what I would tell to a teacher or someone in a position of power is get to know the person you're dealing with first. Like get to know their heredity, their environment they're in. And there could be deeper lying things that's preventing someone from learning at a high level, or preventing someone from reaching their goals. Try to figure out ways to tap into that first, tap into what they got going on at home before you just cast judgment on someone. They can be going through a lot and you may not even know. So figure out ways to invest time in learning this person's life so you can find out the best way to navigate and help them versus just casting judgment on something you may think.
There's an inspirational way of that, just like understanding that we all have that impact, and how can we move people forward without dimming their light really at the end of the day, just because of your own jealousy or not knowing how to connect with people. Sometimes people believe that people are doing for seeking attention, but it's actually seeking connection for people in their roles, especially teachers, principals, all those higher ups.
Yes.
One thing, I love this thing that you wrote, from a place of desperation to a place of inspiration was a line that you had in the video. and in one of your posts. And that just like, when I read that, I was like, I've been there. This is
Right.
me. So I was looking at your Queens North, and I know you've done like the women's league, and that was really cool to watch, just like seeing it from that perspective. Being a woman myself, I don't often see, I see a lot of male leagues, and those offer services and stuff like that, but not often like for females. And one thing I wanted to see, get you to kind of answer is, what has inspired you to bridge the gap in all the involvements that you've been in? So what inspired you to, open that one up? What did you see was missing? And then all the things that you're involved in now. So how do you bridge, what has inspired you when you think of like your own inspiration to go out in the world and make spaces for people?
Well, that's a great question. I feel like I have a younger sister, and growing up, I always try to make sure that she had all the same opportunities that I had, whether not just scholastic or basketball or athletics, just everything else. Like, I wouldn't like if we went out to eat and I got this type of toy from McDonald's and she wouldn't be able to get it. I'll just give it to her. Like,
I forgot about
yeah.
that, but that memory just hit.
Yeah, like those
Yeah,
toys.
we always got not the best toys. It was
Right,
like,
always.
yes.
So I just give her my toy. So I was like,
Started at McDonald's.
start at McDonald's. Like, so
Wow.
there's that mentality of like making sure it's equal, man. Because having a sister kind of changed my life growing up. So I'm like, you know what? Where I saw a need in any type of situation, I try to find a way to give like an action, which would lead to a solution. Not find me. I just wanted to start the conversation. And as you can see, like when we started Queens of the North, now someone who played in Queens of the North, who was like an 18, 19-year-old at the time, has started Hoop Queens, Nikisa, and I've like mentored her throughout the way. The whole thing was like to start a conversation for people to take a step forward in action. And anytime I see needing something, that's when I branch out and figure something out. The only reason I started my own clothing line is because when I was in school, I'd be wearing YSL, Givenchy, all these different brands, and people would buy the clothes because I'm wearing it. So my boy would be like, yo, where you get that from? I'm about to go buy it too. I'm like, hold on. I'm making these guys free money for no reason. I'm like a billboard for these guys. I'm marketing for, you know what? I'm not wearing your guys' stuff like that no more. So I'm gonna get my own stuff. So hopefully when I wear my stuff, you guys would want to wear it as well. So hopefully now, we're trying to start that line of generational wealth where people see like, it's cool to wear your friends' clothes versus wearing Gucci because you don't know anyone at Gucci at all. And they don't know you and they don't care to. So that's the only thing. I had a line where I said, from now on, I'm not wearing any designer if I don't know the designers. And that was like something for people to think about.
I was actually going to ask you about that because, one of the things I noticed is you definitely got like sports and fashion, that you're working both angles very well. And I know you're doing a lot with the kids in the communities in a sports sense. I got a couple kids on the other side who are getting into fashion and trying to start their own clothing lines. And it's a fun project at the beginning, but is anyone coming to you with that? Like, hey, I want to start my own this. I want to start my own this. And are you working on anything right now? And like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I got a program from my team for the River Lions called the Lab, which means life after basketball. And the Lab is where I have different components in the structure. We do financial literacy. We have a real estate person, but then we also have brand management and entrepreneurship. So a couple of the players on my team came to me because they wanted to start clothing lines. So they reach out to me and I give them the rundown and the information, and we do vision boards. And two of them have actually started a clothing line and doing really, really well now. So I have like the process mapped up in my mind, but everyone is different. It's not cookie cutter. It's not turnkey. So people's visions are different for what they want. And you have to I always tell people this: your brand is never going to be the end result in the beginning. Give your brand legs to grow. Like Rockefeller started as Rockefeller, moved to Rockaware, then now it's Rock Nation. Give your brand an opportunity, a chance to grow. Don't think it's going to be the end all be all from the beginning. Like even the logo size of it, it's going to change. It's like an open document. Give it opportunity to change and grow. If you have it one way and you have it set in your mind as one way, it's not going to go the direction you want. So that's the biggest thing I can say to them.
Yeah, big thing. And I think that's like art in general. If you get too attached to an idea, then you kind of like block off a lot of different paths that it could like grow into. I mean, even, watching what Kwame did with this from day one, like it's changed so much and what it's become. But I just realized too, I'm wearing a Bleach Star right now. Yeah, I'm gonna send you a hoodie. All right, I'm gonna send you a hoodie.
Send it to me, man. Send it to me. I love it.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions before we get to the final question?
I'm good.
All
I can
right.
talk all day, but
I know I can't. There's a couple of other things I want to kind of go on. Actually, let's keep the energy going. Let's keep the energy going.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good for time.
Antwi, so like you're in so many different things, bro. You're in so many different things. You're a GM for a baseball team. You're a GM.
Tigers.
Shout out to the Mississauga Tigers.
Mississauga Tigers.
GM for a basketball team, Niagara. What's the name?
Niagara River Lions.
Niagara River Lions. You have your own clothing line, right? And you run youth camps, youth are us, and you're empowering the youth. You're doing so many things that are not. You're not a one-dimensional person. Right, so many different things. And another quote that you said in that documentary is that don't let anyone put you in a box. And you're living a life outside the box. Like you're creating your own brand. You're creating your own narrative. You're refusing to be limited in what you do. Why? And why is that important?
Because I feel like a lot of these things that you look like that I'm not into them. They're in me. The biggest thing about all these things that I'm doing is they're already in me. I grew up in a community center. I grew up where you got to play baseball, basketball, volleyball. You got to play chess. You got to do dominoes. You got to rap. I grew up in that area. So now I was just finding ways to research them, get better at them, and find ways to monetize them at the highest level. There's no reason why I can't be Jeff Bezos. There's no reason why I can't be Sean Carter in a better version. You can be all these things once you can see it. So all I'm doing is doing what I like or what I love, or things that I feel are going to be progressive and tapping into them. It's not that hard. I mean, I try not to work hard. I try to work smart. So before I get into any type of area of like baseball journal, man, I research Cito Gaston, like to the T. And this is why we created the Cito Gaston Scholarship.
Yeah.
For the youth in the community, because he's the first Black general manager or management and won back-to-back chips for the Blue Jays at a high level. His roommate in school was Hank Aaron, and Cito's a mentor to us. So like, you know what? It makes sense. Like, it's just literally like just doing things that I like or I love and finding ways to monetize it and giving it back. That's it.
Wow. Hey, to all the youth out there, man, like, don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. You know, branch out. You know, don't let anybody tell you got to be one specific thing. Don't let anybody put a label on you. Share all the gifts and the talents that are within you to the world and find 100%. A way to monetize, like my man just said.
And even if you're not monetizing, like, let me elaborate on monetization. So when I say monetize, sometimes I mean monetize just on energy. Like, so people just think it's all about your ROI. What's your return on investment? That's cool. I'm not really worried about that. What's my return of energy? So a lot of these things that I'm getting because I gave that energy earlier on in my life. I planted these seeds energy-wise for free. Like, I was doing this stuff for the youth. I was coming out of my pocket in Youth R Us every single time. No sponsorships, no nothing. And the energy just returning is reciprocating itself because I've given that good energy to the universe. And that's why it looks like so many different things are opening up because I've already been open to it. So it may not be like monetization and like money in the bank, but that sweat equity that I put in already is coming that full circle because I wake up every day, you know, in the mind frame of abundance, and I'm living a great life and I'm enjoying it every single day.
Ooh, that's so important. I just want to say, like, because a lot of the work we do, you know what I mean? And you get a lot of people come at you like, oh my God, you're doing so much for the kids, and as if you're sacrificing everything, which you do a lot. But I think people don't value the return as much, like you just said. Like I get to wake up every day doing what I love, being happy gives me purpose. Like, they're feeding life back into me. And I think people overlook that a lot of the time.
Yeah, I love that. Essentially, you're not even working.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
And doing something you love. So like, especially when you're around young energy, like they keep us young. You know, that's the best thing. Like, I learned way more from 16, 15, 17-year-olds than 35, 40-year-olds that are stuck in their ways. And they think it's one way. No, the 16-year-olds like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's try this way. I didn't think about that. Perfect. Let's do it. And, you know, something completely new comes up. So 100%.
That's like, honestly, that's on point. When I was teaching at a high school in Fort McMurray, Alberta, and Dylan knows this, like, I would literally hang around with the kids more than I would with the staff. Right. And and I'll tell the kids all the time, like, man, I learned so much from you guys. You guys have no idea how much I learned from you. I just chill, just soak up all the energy, soak up everything they're doing. And it kept me young and vibrant. It's true. 100%. It's totally true. And I love what you just said about, you know, your ROI, you know, and the things that are happening for you right now. A lot of people may look at your life and they may think that everything just happened at once. They don't understand
Right, exactly.
the seeds you planted back then. And I think that's a major message for this generation. It's a generation where everybody thinks things just happen. Everybody thinks things just happen fast because of social media and all that stuff. People don't understand that there is a process in being processed. And I think that that's a huge message that all our viewers need to understand. You know, everything has its time and place, and plant your seeds and water them and see them grow and flourish. And people are going to think you're overnight success. There's no such thing as an overnight success in this
I
world,
agree.
you know,
I agree 100%. And another thing to add on, don't be afraid to plant your seeds on concrete. Like, that's a big thing. People, because they don't see nothing there, they're afraid to plant it. Oh, nothing's over there. Nah, plant your seed on that concrete. If you water it the right way, you'll be the flower to come out of the concrete. So that's a big thing that I did. I was touching on things where people wanted to put me in an athlete box. One time you should be in a box is when you die. So I was doing things that were like, now they don't even think I'm an athlete. They're like, you play basketball? When I go into these meetings, like, you play basketball? I'm like, oh, yeah, don't worry. In a past life I did, but they're respecting my mind. They understand, like, you know, he knows what he's talking about and he's well-versed and he can adapt. So it's important.
Yeah, it's deeper than that. You know, like you're talking already about so many experiences you've gained in those spaces of playing basketball and leading in different ways. And the deepest meaning that you're getting is from the actual like experience and challenges and
Yeah.
opportunities that you keep seeing through those spaces. So you're not just the title of, you know, the basketball player. It was just a
Right.
period, a chapter of time.
100%.
But yeah, that it's like one thing that you were like talking about the architect and how when you're saying you see possibilities in concrete, and I just think of people who like we're all creators and we're all architects of creating the path ahead of us, and even presently what's happening now. So how do you get inspired with, you know, just thinking of yourself in that way and just like where are you going next? Where are you going
You know
next?
what? The way I get inspired is by, you know, I take a lot of nature walks. I do a lot of meditation. I read a lot. I do a lot of self-evaluation, you know, a lot of knowledge of self. And I stay balanced and grounded. So when I stay balanced and grounded, I can see everything above ground versus thinking I'm above everything. So many people get like to a place of success. They think they're above everything. So now they're unreachable and no one can talk to them. They think they get entitled. Me, I do the opposite. I do a lot of reflection. I do a lot of, you know, not mapping out things, but leaving like room for improvement in things. So if something didn't go the right way, I kind of try to dissect why it didn't go the right way so I don't go the same way the next time. Or take a little bit here and add a little bit there. It's kind of like making gumbo. So the way how I plan on where I'm going next, I don't plan where I'm going next. That's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is just staying grounded and staying aware that something beautiful is coming to you. Like that's the best feeling in the world. Like knowing something is coming and understanding when it comes, or overstanding when it comes, or understanding when it comes, is going to make itself aware to you. Like it's not going to be like written on the wall. It may be in the concrete like we talked about. But if you dig deep enough and you water enough, it's going to sprout. And once it sprouts, you'll be like, oh, that made sense. That's why that happened. And, you know, being grounded, being self-aware, meditation, you know, and just being in a space of like abundance, understanding, you know, it's going to come to you.
Is that a skill that you, I mean, obviously it's a skill you developed over time, but is that something for me, I guess, like as my life goes on, like you just talked about, like you start trusting, right? You start trusting the process more, you start trusting the signs more. So now it sounds like you're at a point where you're like, I fully trust, hands off, and you're just going to follow your heart or follow the signs or whatever. And like wherever it takes you is going to take you. Is that something you always had in you, or is this something that you learned to trust through seeing it happen throughout the course of your life?
That's a great question. A lot of it I gained through adversity. So when I had all these adverse situations happen and I didn't really know what was going to happen afterwards, and something great happened after, like not right away, I started going through that like empty staircase. Like you don't know where the next step is going to be, but you know it's going to be a good one. Versus thinking like we're taught to think it's too good to be true. Mm-hmm. And that's the worst thing you can tell a kid. That's the worst thing you can tell anybody. It's too good to be true. So even coming from the community, like even like growing up, like your parents will tell you like, yo, don't show too much of what you're doing because people are going to do this and that. And the thing, you're like, hold on, I'm doing great. Why would I not want to show what I'm doing? Like, what's the problem? But if I was doing bad and I was going to, you know, get incarcerated, everyone would see it as well. So, you know, it's a gift and a curse. So the empty staircase, meaning instead of thinking like it's too good to be true, knowing it's going to get better. Like knowing it can only get better from here. Like every single step you take, it can only get better. Depending on how you take that message is giving you. Like, how are you decoding these messages? Like, are you just thinking it just for yourself, or is the universe blocking certain things because you're not ready for it yet? So when you're ready for it, it'll open it up for you. Like, and that's how it is for me. I developed it over time, but I trusted that it's going to come in that way because my mindset is in abundance.
I really like what you said about being too good to be true, because I think a lot of people, they have that sense, so they end up self-sabotaging when things are going their way. You know what I'm saying? They think this is not going to last, so I might as well make it end on my terms than wait for something bad to happen. But like you just switch that mindset and it is going to end, but for something better, then you can sit there and enjoy it while it's happening. But yeah,
and let me add on to that. It's not going to end. It's going to continue to go, but in a different direction. Like when something grows, it goes just, people think in their mind, oh, it's too good to be true, so let me end this now. No, that stuff's going to be with you forever. Like you take that and you keep it with you along your journey. There may be a meeting that you go in and you may meet somebody that went through that same exact thing. So now y'all signed a deal. Mm-hmm. That was a deal closer that you spoke about what you went through. He's like, oh, I went through that too. Here goes 2.5 mil now for whatever you want to do. Because people don't invest in business, they invest in people. So you take these things along your journey with you, and now they're all jewels in your jewel box instead of running from them. Like you can't block your blessings. Like every blessing in there becomes a curse. And if you live this way, you're gonna get that same reciprocation.
Facts.
It's so true. I think, man, like it's like for me personally, I could say like I was a victim to that. Like I'm totally guilty of that when I was younger, you know. And it's probably a testament to the way I was raised, you know.
Right.
I always had the mindset of like hope for the best, but expect the worst. You know, expect the worst, but hope for the best. So in every situation, I was just expecting things not to happen for me. You know, even though I was hopeful, but my more energy was on the expectation, and that's how we block our blessings. A lot of us are blocking our blessing. That's energy we're given. That's we're attracting the negative energy. We're attracting the negativity into our lives, and I think that's something that we all definitely gotta work on. You know, understanding the energy value. You know, understanding the power of thought. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a deep topic, and that's definitely held me back in the past, and it took for me to really reprogram my mindset, my way of thinking, reprogram the way I move, the way I speak, and understanding that my words have value. You know what I mean? When you're speaking negatively to yourself, you're creating a curse to yourself. You know what I mean? And even saying being negative to others, saying negative things about other people, that's a curse that's coming back to you. That's energy. That's karma. So yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
No,
that was very like, I hope people out there that are listening feel that, because it could even be guilt. Like if you grew up through your generations that no one made it past this point, and then you're just there, and then everyone's just like, you don't even feel normal that you're in that space. And that could be something that people carry, that they may not move forward, or just like trying something new, or being like, hey, I actually deserve this. Deserve this, you know, and not making it a generational curse that keeps continuing on, because that is a big part of it. Like, I know I felt that, like when I went to school, I felt guilty, like I was abandoning my family because I left and did something new, and you know, and left the family responsibilities that I had to do. You know, anyone that's taking care of their family. So that's the only role you do. And then you go and experience success for the first time in your own life. And you're like, does this feel normal to me? I don't feel good here. It's totally completely new. But just like believing in yourself and not allowing that to take over, because you're there for a reason.
100%. I agree.
All right. So I think we're winding down here. Antwi, we have a specific question we like to ask on this podcast, because we're interviewing champions, people that we think are making a difference in this world, people we think are winning in this world, are creating a huge impact in this world. And initially we were saying the question was making a difference, but we kind of rephrased it. And I'm going to take it a little step further from what we did last week.
I was hoping. I was thinking about it.
So we want to know, how do you know that you are making an impact in this world? What does making an impact look like? in the view of Antwi Atuahene, aka Buttons, aka Tweety?
That's a great question. I feel like two ways, it's a two-part question. I feel like first, in self, I'm making an impact. I know I'm making an impact because the spaces that I'm being invited to are changing. And when I get invited to these spaces, I'm not the only one anymore. There's more people that look like me in these spaces. And it's always, oh, this is Tweety, and look who else we have here now as well. So I know I'm making an impact in that sense for the self. And I know I'm making an impact when I see a lot of people, more people trying to do things that I've done. Instead of looking at it as imitation, I don't even like that term imitation as a form of flattery. I feel like people are living through that. They're seeing, yo, someone that looks like me has done that. I can do that too. And I feel like I see that all over the place. Like, not just in the basketball sense, but in our community as well. And I feel like that's how I know I'm making an impact.
That's big. That's big right there. Well, Antwi, it's been an honor and it's been a pleasure. We appreciate your time.
Likewise.
And we know that everybody watching this would definitely gain something from this. Like, there were so many gems that were thrown out. If you didn't catch one, then hey, something's wrong with you, man. Open your ears, open your eyes, do something. But hey, on that note, hey, actually, before I even say that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But on that note, Dylan, take it with the outro.
I appreciate having you, bro. Let's see if I can hit it this time. All right, everybody. Well, that's our perspective on mentoring. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
No, that wasn't it. That's all good.
What the heck?
Wow, yo, that was good.
That was good. Yo, this is, I don't know whose idea this was to do like the champions thing, but this is the best idea someone ever had.
Yeah, Antwi, thanks, man.